I brought a young lady swimming out here once, more than 20 years ago. It was after my wife had lost her mind and my boys was dead. Me and this young lady was pretty wild, I guess, and pretty deep. We used to come out here horseback and go swimming without no bathing suits. One day she wanted to swim the horses across this tank. Kind of a crazy thing to do, but we'd done it anyway. She bet me a silver dollar she could beat me across. She did. This old horse I was riding didn't want to take the water. But she was always looking for something to do like that. Something wild. I bet she still got that silver dollar.
And we are back. But before we go into part 2 of our Last Picture Show episode, we are going to do some PP, patron pitch. This is where we tell our patrons what they can expect on their exclusive patron feed. We also let non-patrons know what they're missing out on. So we're going to go through this quickly because we have some live stream for The Cure promoting to do at the end of the segment. So very quickly, every patron, whether you're on the $1 tier or the $10 tier, everybody gets access to the chat, which, by the way, now you can access also on your browser, not just on the app, but also on your browser if you're just having Patreon up while you're working. You have access to our cutting room floor segments. So anything that doesn't make it to the episode that we think you might find funny or interesting, that goes there. And you also get access to our bonus episodes, which we do at least once a month. This month, Alex, we're fulfilling a short-time debt. A couple months ago, our friend and patron Ryan tasked us with covering the movie Confessions.
Yes.
On the Patreon channel, and we couldn't find it anywhere. So we did Om Shanti Om instead, and we added another Indian movie notch to our belt. Mm-hmm. And now, a couple months later, well, we found Confessions. So that's what we're doing for the bonus episode. It is a very different movie from Om Shanti Om. We can say that. And if you want more details, then join our Patreon and listen to our Confessions episode. It's very different from, I would say, all the other episodes we've done as far as the subject matter. So if you're a $1 tier patron from the Travoltis, you get that. If you want more, then you go up a tier to the Winonis, a $3 tier, and then you get access to our pre-recording notes. You get access to our QVRs, or quick video reviews. This month, Alex, we have separate QVRs. You are going to be doing the Florence Pugh drama comedy. Honestly, I don't know. I just know it's kind of like a movie of hers that was from before she blew up. No, Lady Macbeth. I've heard of it, never watched it. This is before she was Paige.
Oh, wow. Even before then. Okay.
And I will be doing the one Rian Johnson movie I've never seen, The Brothers Bloom, starring Rachel Weisz. That's all I need. I don't care about the runtime. I don't care about anything else.
Are those Eddie picks?
Yep. Those are Eddie Strait picks.
Eddie Strait. One of the first conversations I ever remember having with him about movies was him telling me about Brothers Bloom and how much he liked it. So that makes sense.
There you go. Well, I got Brothers Bloom. You got Lady Macbeth, which I'm assuming is also a movie he likes. Then you also get Contrarians After Hours. That's the spin-off show where we tell you about other things that we're watching, reading, playing, listening to, thinking about. Now, during the summer event, whenever we do a Bogdanov film, the After Hours is going to fill in the blanks of Peter Bogdanovich's filmography that's not covered on the main feed. Yes, we did the Last Picture Show on this episode, but he made a couple movies before that. He did a documentary about John Ford. We're not going to cover that. But he did the movie Targets, and he also, uncredited, did a movie called Voyage to the Planet of Prehistoric Women. And they're both streaming for free, Alex, so I figure we could check them out and see how much of a jump there is between those two and what he did in the Last Picture Show. So that will be on the After Hours. I think Targets is a Roger Corman production. Both of them might be. Voyage to the Planet of Prehistoric Women.
Yeah, I'm looking at this right now. This is definitely a Roger Corman movie.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
It's long overdue to be on the Contrarians. And then if you want to be one of those patrons like Eddie, like Ryan, who tell us what to do, what to cover, well, that's what the $5 tier, the Embreeze, and the $10 tiers, the GADs, that's what they're for. So go to patreon.com/Contrarian Prime, look at what we're offering there, and just decide how you would like to join the Contrarian supplements.
$1, $3, $5, and $10 are respective tiers. All the goodies are there, dating back to our very first bonus episode years and years ago. And the patron exclusive series we've done since. We've got our patron goals out there that we'll keep you updated on. Once we cross certain thresholds, we'll be rolling out new patron exclusive mini series. And for those patrons who have been with us, you know how deep we go, how far into the weeds we reside in our patron exclusive series. So check it out. Take a look. Throw us a buck. You won't regret it. Speaking of throwing your money at something, Julio, we got the live stream for The Cure coming up.
Yes. Just be ready, dear patrons and listeners. Be ready, all of you, because we are about a month away from our appearance at the live stream for The Cure. The live stream is going to run from May 29th to June 1st. June 1st is the day that the Contrarians show up at 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central. But, if you can't be there for the whole event, do it. It starts at noon every day, runs until midnight. A bunch of podcasters, entertainers just hop on and do their thing and try to raise money for cancer research. So a very noble cause. And we're a little part of it. We have a little part to play there. For our segment, we'll do what we've been doing the last few years, that being mini Contrarian treatments that are guided by the audience. So whoever is at the audience during our segment, you guys just throw titles at us and we take that title and we say what we would do with that movie if we were doing it on the show. Depending how we're doing on time, how we're doing with how we're feeling, we might also do the Josh Gad Minute, which we usually save just for our Contrarians warm-ups.
I don't know. If it's
fun,
animated movies, we may need to rescind that offer because I don't know if the fun would be there quite the same.
We'll see. We'll see how it goes. If we're feeling it, I'm saying.
If there's an obvious one, then maybe we'll throw a couple Gad Minutes on the house.
Or alternatively, Alex, and now I'm just spitballing ideas and recycling ideas because we also didn't get to do the what would the criterion be for this movie?
Ooh, with Disney movies too, that could be a lot of fun. So maybe I think I like that idea a bit better.
All right, GAD is out, Criterion is in. But yes, as Alex just said, Disney movies, that's going to be our theme this year. So if you're in the audience, you just throw a Disney movie at us and we'll give you the Contrarians treatment. Our goals, like the past few years, we have 4 tiers. We're going to go big because we basically every year we've raised more money than the previous one and want to kick it up a notch. So we're going to have 4 tiers depending on if we hit those tiers. As we hit those tiers, we're committing to doing specific movies on the show. We're going to reveal what those movies are next episode. We're going to leave you thinking about it. But we'll give you the tiers now. And those tiers are $250, $500, $750, and $1,000. Lofty goals? Yes. But trust us, very much worth it. If we manage to get all the way to 1,000, it's going to be worth your time. It's going to be a lot of fun. Last year, we did a little over 600. So I think it's possible, Alex. If we rally the troops, we get everybody there. Look, if we get 1,000 people to tune in, all they have to do is donate $1 each.
That's right.
It's math. It's simple math. Even if you don't donate, just you being there, participating, it means a lot. It drives traffic to the live stream, and that's really the important part. You may not be donating, but you may inspire somebody else that's there to donate or to check it out and then decide to donate. So it's a really good cause. Nick and his team, they're great. We love supporting them, and so just get ready because you're going to be hearing about this for the next couple episodes as we keep pitching it. So next episode, we'll reveal what the rewards are for those tiers. But until then, just make sure you mark your calendar. If you can't do it for the entire duration of the live stream from May 29th to June 1st, at the very least, make sure you are free and available June 1st, 4 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Eastern. It'll be just for an hour, so you can do that. You can make that time.
Hell yeah.
But that's it, Alex. Let's travel back in time and space to a little Texas town in the middle of bumfuck nowhere. Let's go back to watch The Last Picture Show.
Thought you might want to go to the picture show. Miss Mosey's having to close it. Tonight's the last night.
Yeah, might as well go. He missed last night.
It's The Last Picture Show? The Last Picture Show.
What was the last time you heard somebody call it a picture show? Like in real life?
Non-ironically, I have no idea. What about you? Is that what your family still calls them in Peru? The moving pictures?
Yes, they switch to English and then they call them picture shows. I want to say when I worked at the San Martin College Station, some of the older customers would sometimes refer to them as picture shows, which that has to be because I can't, I have the memory of hearing it in real life, like not in movies. And that's the only place where I can imagine, where I can think of that happening. Nobody does that in Austin.
Not sincerely. I guarantee there's a ton of people here that call them picture shows because they think it's cool or fun, or they do it, like I said, ironically, but fuck them. Peter Bogdanovich was nearly fired after filming the fight between Dwayne and Sonny because he had not filmed a master shot. The producer defended him, saying that the cuts he needed were already in the camera. That's hilarious. I'm just kind of thumbing through things right now. I'm going to save a lot of these for our YouTube warm-up, so stay tuned for that. Hell of a movie, hell of a blind spot I covered this evening, and we'll continue to do so with Peter Bogdanovich as a filmmaker as we move through this. I'm disappointed to learn that we're not going to watch every episode of The Sopranos that he's on. I can never remember, Julio. You've never watched The Sopranos start to finish, have you?
I never. How many episodes of The Sopranos does he have?
I don't know. He's probably in less than 10.
Okay, but let's say if there were 10 episodes, would it be a disservice to the show if I just watched those 10 episodes?
Yes, absolutely.
I don't know if they're like standalone, adventures like the A-Team or something.
There's really, Jesus.
This week, Tony kills a guy.
I don't know if there's any episode in there I would consider standalone, because even the ones that seem like they have nothing to do with anything else will be referenced down the line. So back to The Last Picture Show, however, and back to Anarene, Texas. Julio, it's a good movie.
I think so. I am in agreement with you. It is a good movie. How good of a good movie? That's I think what we're going to discuss here. I mean,
well, we're in agreement that it's a good movie, but 2% of the folks that comprise the tomato meter score disagree. Were you able to find those quotes? Did you pull those, or did you have to go to the tried and true method of Letterboxd?
No, I found the two reviews. The two quotes are rotten, and they are still there. They have to be fairly recent. I think I mentioned it in last episode, or maybe it was off mic, but at some point, I think when I was first putting this together, it was 100%. Like The Last Picture Show was 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. So this has to be a recent development that it went down to 98%. So I got those two quotes. I wanted to supplement with some Letterboxd quotes, but the Letterboxd website seems to be down because it's not loading for me. The app's not logging in. And when I try to open it on the browser, it tries to go to the app. And it's like, God damn it, Letterboxd, get it together. So that's all right. These two rotten quotes will do, and then we'll move on to some Bogdanovich discussion. But let's start with Tony Palmer from The Spectator, who says, although the film is never sentimental, it is also never moving. It appeals to the lesser instincts of folk identification, recognizing the past without recognizing what it was about the past that was valuable. Brainless nostalgia? Is that what he's arguing?
Yeah, I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Sir, I wish your quote was as easy to follow as the story of The Last Picture Show. And then the other negative quote is from Stanley Kaufman from The New Republic, who says, Bogdanovich has real abilities and has progressed happily in most ways. Expect the central matter, self being style. I still don't know much more about him from his work than that he loves films and can make them. But who is he? Who cares?
No shit.
Does it matter? I mean, yes, there are some filmmakers where you watch their movies and you're like, oh, I think I know this guy. But I don't think that that's a requirement, right?
No.
As long as you make a good movie, I don't really care. In fact, sometimes it gets in the way. When you know too much about the person behind the camera, it starts interfering with your appreciation of the movie one way or another. Absolutely. Yeah.
Like, who's the director you would say that you don't feel like you know at all and you've seen multiple movies of theirs?
Like, just without like really doing a deep dive in my brain, just from big names, I would say Fincher. Because I don't really, go looking for interviews, or I don't think I've ever seen him talk about a movie. Like I haven't seen special features where he's talking about anything. It's not like I know Christopher Nolan, but
Nolan was going to be mine of like, what's his gimmick? Oh, he likes making big movies, but it's not like you watch his movies and you're like, we always here on the Contrarians, we always default to Rob Zombie when we need to dunk on somebody. So it's like you watch that and you're like, man, this guy's never actually like talked to a person or had respect for women in his entire life. It was Christopher Nolan. Yeah, you watch his movies and you're like, yeah, he likes making big movies, but he could be a raging conservative for all I know. I can't tell by his movies. You know who else? PTA would be a good example.
Yes, but I did see him have that amazing talk with Jonathan Demme at the Austin Film Festival once. And that's when I went like, this guy's cool. Before that, I saw him walking down the street with Maya Rudolph. And I was like, this guy's really cool.
Fuck, man. I don't know. Jason Reitman, does that work for you?
I know he made Labor Day and that colors my thought. But yeah, you're right. I don't know anything.
He also made Up in the Air.
Yes. What a mystery that man is. One of the biggest unanswered questions that I will probably go to my grave with is like, why did he make Labor Day? I don't understand.
Hopefully one of us runs into him and like during a layover at an airport somewhere in like Topeka, Kansas. And we're like, hey, the fuck was up with that movie? The point we just tried to make over the past 5 minutes is I don't need to fucking know who you are to enjoy a movie that you make. In most cases, I don't want to know who you are. That's the biggest problem with social media is I know too much about these people now and I don't want to. Mm-hmm. Keep some mystery to yourself. And making a movie like this, who gives a shit what you are or who you are? You made a good movie. Just fucking accept that, you spoiled bitch.
Now, it's funny to say that as we embark on this project, we're probably going to end up having some sort of idea about Peter Bogdanovich and PJ Hogan by the time we're done.
Yes, but we also started with arguably the most beloved movie in this entire journey that we're doing.
Yes. Yeah. Did learning about him and Sybil Shepherd color your experience in any way? Did you learn about that before or after watching the movie?
During. I was doing a bit of reading during the movie. No, it didn't. I actually pumped my fist and I was just like, hell yeah.
Golf clap. Good job, man.
Not in like a lecherous sense, but just in the like, y'all know I love the behind the scenes drama during, making a movie.
Oh, I thought you were Sean Connery on The Rock. I was like, you go home and you fuck the prom queen.
I mean, she is unbelievably beautiful.
Yep.
But it's more from a sense of I love behind the scenes drama or like lore about movies, like what happened on set when they were being made. It also sounds like there was just a lot of drinking and partying during this. So hell yeah, brother. That's my thoughts on it.
You want to join the club? Sure. Well, you got to get undressed out there on the diving board.
So everybody gets to watch.
All right, so before we get into our thoughts on it, I did tease that we would discuss the Oscar nominations that this movie had and also what it brought home. And it was nominated for a whole slew of awards. So we had a Best Picture nomination, Best Director, Best Supporting Actor, twice, Jeff Bridges and Ben Johnson.
Oh, I'm glad Ben Johnson got one. I was wondering.
He was not only nominated, Julio, he won.
Holy shit.
Best Supporting Actress got two also. So this movie was double dipping in two categories. Ellen Burstyn and Cloris Leachman both got nominated. And as I mentioned in Contrarians Corner, Cloris Leachman won. Best Screenplay based on material from another medium. These days we call that Best Adapted Screenplay. And then Best Cinematography. This all went down at the 44th Annual Academy Awards, hosted by Helen Hayes, Alan King, Sammy Davis Jr., and Jack Lemmon. What a fucking party that must have been. All right, so let's start from the bottom here to see what it lost out to. Best Cinematography, Fiddler on the Roof won, beating out Last Picture Show, Summer of 42, Nicholas and Alexandra, and The French Connection. Then we had Adapted Screenplay. I think you're going to be able to catch on to the trend of what happened in 1972, Julio. The French Connection took home Adapted Screenplay, beating out Last Picture Show, Garden of Finzi Cantinas, The Conformist, and A Clockwork Orange. For supporting actress, as I mentioned, Cloris Leachman won. It was also nominated with Ellen Burstyn. Also nominated Anne Margaret for Carnal Knowledge. Barbara Harris for Who is Harry Kellerman and Why is he saying those terrible things about me? And Margaret Leighton for The Go-Between.
We used to not be afraid of having long titles in movies.
It's true. You know, I've never seen Carnal Knowledge. I've always wanted to.
Nicholson, right?
Yeah, Nicholson and Margaret. Carol Kane's in it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either.
So supporting actor, I mentioned Ben Johnson won. Jeff Bridges was nominated both for Last Picture Show. Leonard Frey for Fiddler on the Roof. Richard Jekyll for Sometimes a Great Notion. And Roy Scheider for The French Connection. Not for Jaws or Jaws 2. Sadly. Then Best Director. Who you want to guess who won that?
Wait, it's not Friedkin. Who directed The French Connection?
Yeah, it was Friedkin.
Frankenheimer. Oh, Friedkin? Okay.
Yeah. William Friedkin indeed did win for The French Connection, beating out Stanley Kubrick, Clockwork Orange. Norman Jewison for Fiddler on the Roof. Our boy, P-Dog. Or P-Bog. That's how we're going to... P-Bog. And John Schlesinger for Sunday Bloody Sunday. French Connection took home Best Picture, beating out Clockwork Orange, Last Picture Show, Fiddler on the Roof, and Nicholas and Alexandra. So a respectable showing here for Last Picture Show. And as I mentioned, a box office beast on a budget of just a little over $1 million, took home close to 30. And in its time, and only has gained since its notoriety. You know what I mean? It was loved in its day. And now it's beheld as, you know, a classic. It's a tentpole for some, a staple, any other analogy or euphemism I could think of. So it was definitely an overdue blind spot being covered today, I believe, for both of us. I really enjoyed it. Now, I did, you know, the folks that I follow on Letterboxd that I was reading their reviews earlier today. It was kind of, with the exception of Ben Murray, who in some cases he's a better contrarian than we are. But I saw his 3.5-star review for it. But everyone else that I follow, this is like a 5-star across the board movie.
Do you think it's like an American thing? I was like, man, Ben watches this movie and it's like going to the zoo or something.
I think definitely. Folks in the UK can relate to the ideology of the small town that you never escape from. I do think there are some elements. I take that back. I don't think. I know there are some elements that are not as relatable. If you haven't experienced that specifically in Texas, but not enough to like completely change judgment of the movie one way or the other. He's a guy too that loves King of the Hill, and my God, if he spent 10 years in Texas, he would only love that show more for like how dedicated it is to the source material. So I think he gets the idea of this movie. I think it's probably just, and 3.5 stars ain't nothing to shake a stick at. I just think he doesn't like it as much as everybody else does. So that comes to my question for you, Julio. How much did you like The Last Picture Show?
I liked it. I liked it a lot. I've watched it twice. I did the thing Alex said I always try to do when it's a movie that I don't know and it's a movie that I know has a reputation. I was able to do it this time. Like last night, I just watched it. And then today after work, I watched it so I could take notes and be a contrarian. And I'm glad I did it that way because it made me appreciate the craftsmanship a little more, because it is one of those movies, like you called out in Contrarians Corner, right? It's a hang movie for most of its runtime, where it's just things happen, but there's not a central story that's like driving every scene in one single direction. And when you are, at least if you're me, when I'm trying to figure out what the story is on a first watch, then there's some stuff that just flies under the radar. Then today I watched it, I was like, yeah, there's no big story. It's just these kids and what happens in their last year after they graduate. And so I was able to just relax and pick up some things. My question about the coach is real. I mean, it was mostly in jest, but I think that there is something to that line he says at the end. I don't know if he's specifically telling Sonny that he orchestrated this, because I think that's kind of insane. But I think he might be saying, I know what happened and you made her happy, so I'm okay with that. Maybe. I don't know. It's just knowing how everything works and knowing that they go out of their way. The movie goes out of their way to make it clear that everybody knows what's happening between Sonny and Ruth. So, I mean, how disconnected would the coach have to be not to be aware of it,
Yeah, in that small town.
How are you, Chester?
Fine, Coach.
Now listen, see if we can't stretch that goddamn thing a little. A man never ought to cheat, unless it's for a good cause.
He's a good old boy, ain't he?
I think it's a really good movie. I am stopping myself from going as crazy about it as some of the quotes and the people that absolutely love it. And here is where, like, maybe what I was saying could be the case with Ben is the case with me. I appreciate stories about small towns in America, but ultimately, I've never been in one for long enough to where I would have any sort of nostalgic recognition when I see them. I know them from movies. And
I need to be clear, too. I'm sorry, before you misconstrue what I was saying, I have no nostalgia for it. I just have experience with it. So the characters in this are real to me and annoy me. And so
yes.
Yeah,
but okay, but so there's two. I think that there's people that watch this, and I know because I was going through a lot of quotes. Some of them might come up in our warm up. That look at this as kind of what America used to be, like a simpler time. And yes, this town is kind of beaten down and so on. But I think that they look at it as, well, it was a less complicated world and it was a lot easier to tell what was wrong or what was good. Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I think that you have to, I don't see it that way at all, but I can see how some people, when I watch this movie, I come away feeling like it depicts a reality that I have no, I can't romanticize what this movie is showing.
You have no experience with things like this.
Yeah, but also I can't just go the closest that it comes to is with the movie theater stuff, right?
Hell yeah, brother.
Well, because we had movie theaters like that growing up. I did back in Peru. And so I can, the one theater, the one screen, just one lady out there making popcorn. And my mom, I'm sure I've told you this, off mic. Because if I didn't, that's a big failing on my part. Last time she was visiting, she was telling me about this in detail. And I had a blast listen to her tell me stories of how when she lived in this small town, where she spent a lot of her childhood there, her aunt actually owned a movie theater. And it was one of those old-time movie theaters, like the one we see in this movie. And so her aunt was in charge of programming what was going to be playing. And she had to go and pick up the prints. And
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, she walked me through the entire process, the publicity, the posters, the marquee, everything. And I was just listening and I was like, yeah, it's, that sounds cool. It was like hear my mom giving me her version of a Cinema Paradiso or something, one of those movies that show you the all movie theaters. And a little bit like this. I mean, this, like I said in the first corner, you see it only at the beginning and at the end, but it's that feeling. And that I can see how it awakens something inside that makes you like the movie even more. But everything else, like the depiction of this town where it's you need to get out of there. Everybody is pretty self-involved and there's a lot of attitudes that are very regressive, extremely conservative and so on, I don't think that Bogdanovich is romanticizing it, but I think that there are some audiences that might. But there's always people that romanticize the past, and those of us who have no connection to it, we're like, no, we're better off now.
Yeah. I think, we're better off now that you don't have to enlist in the military to leave your small town.
Yes. Or go to Odessa.
Well, again, Odessa out there in West Jesus nowhere, Texas. You can have a good time there. I know that much. It's like Wichita Falls, too. What I can tell you about Wichita Falls is they do there is drink because there's nothing else to do. So if that's your bag, you can have a good time there, but it gets old after about 2 days.
And then when you get bored of Wichita Falls, you go to the Yaba. Then
go
you
hunt,
get yourself a real party.
Go hunt some kangaroos.
So I think that I'm still trying to figure it out. And obviously, I try to avoid reading reviews in depth because I don't want them to kind of like I want, whenever we have these talks, like when we get to the real talk part of it, I just want it to be very much about like my first experience unfiltered. And so my first experience, having watched it twice almost back to back, is that it's really good, it's really well made, but when it's over, it doesn't leave me like hurting, like that good hurt that, you know, those masterpiece movies get you, you know. And I think that there's a lot of people that feel that way. They watch this movie, and when it's over, they're floored. And so there's one connection there that I'm not quite getting. And, you know, the first thing that I go to is like, well, yeah, because I guess I never lived in a small town to where I can even, you know, synchronize my thoughts with what's going on in the movie.
Yeah, but I relate to this movie wholeheartedly. The town I lived in when I went to high school was very similar to this, and so I could relate to a lot of the characters and like the community, the communal judging and shit like that, and the need to be seen a certain way by everybody because everybody knows everything. The Sybil Shepherd character, what's her name? JC.
Yeah,
yeah. I knew girls just like that, and of course, I was being sunnied in the process, but now in retrospect, I know what they were doing. At the time, I was just like, let me follow you around. But when it comes to the end of this movie, I feel exactly the same way that you do. Even with that experience and things that I can relate to, and even like the whole idea of like gossip and the tea, as kids say today now, like everyone talking about everyone's business and knowing, you know, this person was with this person. Fuck, that's the town I grew up in too. In Ohio, it was just small town bullshit where everybody knew everyone's shit. In Texas, it's just more relatable because it's Texas, you know. People wore cowboy hats, etc. But when the movie's over, same thing. I did not have that sense of completion. Wow, sounds so fucking reality show, you know. I wasn't wowed, but it's
you were just like Jeff Bridges. You're like, I don't know what happened.
Well, I knew what happened, but it was kind of like Jeff Bridges when he left. I was just kind of like, all right, take care. See ya. So I wanted to butt in there and just kind of offer that I do have experience with what this environment can be like, but that didn't necessarily completely change like the feeling of the movie for me. I thought it was great, but you're exactly right. When it was over, I didn't have like that all-encompassing feeling of either like fist pumping, fuck yeah, what a movie, or that feeling of like secondhand regret for Sonny. I didn't really have any of that. I was just like, man, that was a good movie.
But that has to be it. I think that's zeroes in, I think, on what it's not a problem because it's still a great movie, but I'm there with you as far as I don't think that I care enough for Sonny to where I am either devastated by how he is at the end of the movie, or where I feel some sort of relief seeing that Cloris Leachman is like grabbing his hand and forgiving him. I'm like, that's okay. So that's something that happens and it gives me closure, right? As far as where the story ends, but I don't have a strong reaction emotionally, I guess. And that might be, we referenced this in Contrarians Corner. How serious were you when you Sam the Lion dies and then it feels like the movie starts going a little bit on fast forward? There's like so many things happening. And I think that might have also affected how I started relating to the characters, because the first half before Sam dies, when it's a more leisurely pace and things are happening, but you have a pretty good idea of just the environment and how everybody feels. And then the second half is like, oh fuck, Jeff Bridges is going to Odessa. Oh fuck, Jeff Bridges went to the army.
It's not the same now. Nothing's really been right since Sam the Lion died.
No, it hasn't.
Yeah, I was being genuine that I do believe that's the movie, that Sam dies, then everything just goes into fucking fourth gear. But I don't have a problem with it because that's actually how real life works sometimes. There's a lot of nothingness and then sequences of just like nonstop chaos or nonstop happenings. So yeah, it's an easy thing to kind of point at the movie and joke about, but I viewed this movie so much as like an ensemble piece that I found myself at no point really attached to any character. The character I was most interested in probably by the end of the movie was JC, just because her character has that arc of realizing, like, she probably knows it already, but in the beginning she does seem kind of innocent with Jeff Bridges, but then you meet her mom and then you kind of learn more from her, and then by the end of the movie JC's like fully aware of her powers, she knows exactly how to web sling and how to use her spidey sense and whatnot. And that's like interesting. Like I said, whether you want to take that as a good thing or a bad thing, her story is obviously one that's very sad, but I find her character pretty interesting, and I believe this was her film debut as well. And
it says introducing.
Yeah, she gets the Conor McGregor credit, and so I thought she was the most interesting because her overt performance in this movie changes the most out of anyone involved.
Yeah, I think that you can track her spiraling down a more manipulative, I guess, set of actions. Because she starts being, and it's a really good performance because her, she always seems confident, but you can see how she is on shaky ground when they go to the pool party and she has to strip in front of everybody. That scene
Randy
is really
Quaid
good.
Just bushing out there.
Yes. But the way that she is just so nervous and clumsy when she's doing it, I really like that moment for the character. But then, you jump.
As a hopeless romantic, though, dude, it broke my heart that you see the change happen where she locks eyes with that guy and then kind of looks at her watch. She's like, oh, well. I was just like, oh, you bitch.
Yeah, it's sad. I think that I probably was following I was rooting for the Jeff Bridges character, for Dwayne, more at the beginning. Like, that story thread of him being this poor kid that's somehow managed to start dating a girl that is of a higher status and her family's against it. And so I'm like, okay, he's the underdog. Is he going to win them over? What's going to happen? And but then eventually he kind of becomes a dick, and then he's out of the movie for a while. So maybe that's also, the character I was latching on to the most disappeared. But then there's I really like the subplot between Sonny and Ruth. I think it's really sad, but he also comes across as such an asshole. The way that I understand. He's a kid. Like, he's probably not even fully aware of how much this woman is investing in this relationship, but he comes across pretty heartless. And I really don't know if how intentional it is that Sam dies, and he has those two really good scenes where he's dressing down the kids, and then when he's telling his story while they're fishing, and then after he dies, the movie becomes more chaotic. And Ellen Burstyn, like we called out in Contrarians Corner, she mentions it. So I lean towards thinking that that was intentional, that they were like, the town was never the same because we lost the center, the heart, the moral compass, or what have you. But it's ambiguous enough that I couldn't tell you for sure. And the fact that it's intentional, does that mean that, well, I should try to embrace it a little more? It's like, I may not like it, but there is intention there. And so maybe just cut it some slack.
When the news of Sam dying hits Sonny, that's one of my two favorite shots in the movie. Of he just sits down and you see him like looking past everybody, and it just shows that shot of him focusing on the stoplight that's just like red and yellow in their small town. Because I've had moments like that where I've been told like profoundly bad news that shakes me, and I remember just like seeing something completely inanimate and just kind of focusing on that because your brain doesn't really know what else to do in processing it. So I find that very relatable. And then I may have overanalyzed it, but I really enjoyed the closing shot of the picture show when it's the end of the movie and all the cowboys are yeehawing, and it's like they're riding off together, and then there's this short but very purposefully lingering shot of Jeff Bridges and Tim Bottoms watching the movie, and Jeff Bridges is like, you can see very, very minorly, but he's getting kind of emotional about the situation because he knows he's saying goodbye to his friend. I thought both of those were like excellent. Those were like the two like little things about the movie that really stuck out to me.
Yeah, I like it, and I like that Sonny, I don't know if on purpose or by accident, diffuses the emotionality by saying like, yeah, I watched it. Like he already seen the movie before.
Yeah, that's great.
Jeff Bridges goes like, that was really good. And Sonny was like, oh yeah, I saw it a couple times, or I saw it before. And that was like, oh man, you don't do that. Your buddy's really into it. You just go like, yeah, man.
Men don't share emotion, man. You know, we don't have feelings.
Yeah, no.
Especially in fucking 1951.
They're showing too much emotion as it is.
Yeah.
They're like, Cloris Leachman is crying for all of us.
No shit. She's great. So is Ellen Burstyn. Ellen Burstyn doesn't have quite the amount of scenes and dialogue that Cloris Leachman does, but she's excellent.
Yeah, her final scene in the car with Sonny is really good when she starts reminiscing about Sam.
Sam the Lion.
Yeah.
And speaking of which, Ben Johnson may replace my joke about Judi Dench because according to IMDb's trivia section, 9 minutes and 54 seconds of Ben Johnson's screen time in this movie. It's the shortest ever to win an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. I don't remember what Judi Dench's was. I think it's less than that. But anyway, Judi Dench, Ben Johnson, you know, they're laughing all the way to the bank. If it's Judi Dench or Ben Johnson, these jokes have legs. Much like both of them, because they fucking sprinted through these movies to get some Academy Award action. So.
I think Ben Johnson's scenes, of course, it's a more serious movie, but I was going to say they carry a little more weight than Judi Dench.
More serious than Shakespeare in Love?
A little bit. Just a little bit. Shakespeare in Love is in color, so that
Liar Liar is a more serious movie. Liar Liar is to be taken more seriously than Shakespeare in Love.
It's funny the thing about the Oscars, because I meant it in Contrarians Corner. He gets that push in that's just for your consideration when he's telling that story. I think it's in so many movies, but in this one, it all stops. So he can tell a story that is like, it's good, it's well told, but it almost feels like disconnected from everything else that's going on. I know that thematically it eventually comes back. You know, there's a guy that's yearning for the youth that these kids are wasting away, right? He's like, what, really? He says the only thing that sucks is getting old. And he's talking to a kid that is young and is doing nothing with that youth.
Being a decrepit old bag of bones, that's what's ridiculous. Getting old.
I purposefully tuned out during that scene. Like, I know you and I are not old, Julio. Like, we still have some years in us, but like with every day that passes, I feel like so much is gone. Like, I can't live like I used to. And, you know, that's also by choice. I could if I wanted to, but I want to be a productive human and have money and shit. But anyway, during that scene, I just like tuned out. I was like, man, preach, brother. Go off.
So yeah, I'll give him the Oscar.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't care what anybody says. Everyone has the person that made it that still has the silver dollar. Like, everyone has, not saying that they're your soulmate or the person that you were meant to be with, you know what I mean? But everyone has like at least that story or that person, even if it's just like a friendship or something. I'm not just saying it has to be love. It's just I'm not saying what level of love it has to be. I'm just saying, so that's like so easily relatable, and it's absolutely a reference I'm going to use from this point forward. You know, instead of chasing Amy, so to speak, I'll say, well, she still has the silver dollar.
People are going to be like, what?
I think more people would probably get the chasing Amy reference, but you know, fuck it.
That's all right. They need to get up to your level, Alex. You don't have to stoop down to theirs.
I make so many fucking references constantly that no one ever gets. The history of this podcast, I've made references that like you've just accepted over time that you're like, yeah, okay, it's just probably some wrestling thing that Alex says. So
yes.
The best thing is when someone asks you what you mean by that, and you're like, oh, well, the year is 1971. Peter Bogdanovich is a young aspiring filmmaker. But speaking of which, as I mentioned, my sister got me the Criterion for Christmas, and that's how I watched it. And the cover of which is a torn ticket stub, I love, which it says The Last Picture
amazing.
Show. And then it says plus Texasville. I did not know what this was and didn't really bother to ask. I opened this for the first time tonight and watched it. And as soon as I hopped on the call with Julio before we started recording, he was referencing the other P-Bog movies that we're going to be watching. And he mentioned Texasville. He's like, you can't find that anywhere. And I was like, oh, well, it's on this Criterion. So there's a sequel to this movie, not only in film, but also in novel form. Larry McMurtry wrote a follow-up to it. And I don't know how I feel about that, Julio, at least from a film perspective. What are your thoughts? Would you be interested in watching it if the opportunity arose?
Because it exists, I am. You know what I mean? Like, this movie ends, and I'm sitting there in 1971, and I am assuming that I'm the same person I am in 2023. My thought is, it's over. I don't need anything else. You know, that movie is over, and I'm not wondering, oh, well, what's going to happen in 20 years or whatever. But because it's out there, and it was written by the same guy and directed by the same guy, and my understanding is that they got some of the cast to come back, right?
So we got Bridges, Bottoms, Shepard, Leachman, Quaid.
Oh, man.
No Ellen Burstyn, though.
Okay. I mean, that's already enough.
Yeah, we got Eileen Brennan back, too. We got Genevieve back for the diner.
Love it. Yeah, that sounds, especially because it's so many of the originals. Like, if it was a movie written by someone else, directed by someone else, starring, if they recast the roles, who gives a fuck? But here, just the gang got back together, so I feel like I should. And I mean...
It's Speed 2. Jason Patrick takes the part of Keanu Reeves.
Oh, man, I hope not. But
with Jason Patrick as Dwayne Jackson.
Yeah, the reason Texasville is not part of our journey is because, like I told you, and like you just said, it's not anywhere. And I know it was not very well received. And that was also another reason why I wish, it was part of it, because this is one of his most acclaimed movies, perhaps his most acclaimed movie. And then years down the line, he does the sequel and it tanks. So
nearly 20 years later, it was in 1990 when it was released. So you got to think, too, that you'd be curious what the audience was for that.
I mean, plenty of people, I'm sure, that had, okay, what's a 20-year movie that you would be like, sure, I'll go see the sequel? That's not a big franchise or whatever.
I was about to say, twice in my life it was, and it was called Star Wars.
Yeah, not that. I mean, I'm talking about, like, they do The Wrestler.
No.
Somehow.
He's done.
Well, that's what you say now, but they tell you, Aronofsky, everybody comes back to Marisa Tomei.
Brother, give me the Ready to Rumble sequel. Let me see where Oliver Platt, Sean and Gordy are. I'll be happy to check in there. No, I know what you mean, though. Like if there's a Slumdog sequel in 5 years or something like that.
Oh, there you go. Why not? As
discussed in this podcast years and years ago, not the best picture of 2008, but a fine movie.
Just to set the stage of where Bogdanovich was when this happened, when he blew up, he started as a critic. He was writing for Film Culture and Squire.
That's right. Yeah.
And then, like I said in the PP, he did Targets, and then he's uncredited in that Prehistoric Women movie, and then he did a documentary about John Ford, and then The Last Picture Show, and that's when he becomes a superstar. He has a couple of movies that we're gonna cover. We rated Paper Moon. So this was 1971. Paper Moon is 1973. In between those two, he did What's Up, Doc, which we're gonna do on the Patreon. And then there's like a whole bunch of them, but it didn't last that long. He has like a few movies, and then he has like a bomb, and then he kind of falls out of favor in Hollywood. And kind of like the rest of his career are attempts to get back to what he was with his first few movies. That doesn't mean anything regarding the quality of the movies. It just means that, you can burn bright and burn fast when it comes to how much Hollywood loves you sometimes.
Burn the candle at both ends, baby.
Yeah. So we'll see. But I mean, this one, obviously, he started, for all intents and purposes, this is the beginning of his career, and he started with a bang. But this is, man, obviously in the 70s, but this is akin to, just because I referenced Kevin Smith earlier, this is Bogdanovich's Clerks, or Bogdanovich's...
Don't disrespect this movie like that.
Bogdanovich's Reservoir Dogs.
Okay, we're getting somewhere now.
Bogdanovich's El Mariachi. It is, I guess, what I expected as far as the based on its reputation and based on how much I liked Paper Moon. I was like, all right, this guy knows how to make a movie. So let's watch the movie that got him the most acclaim. And it's good. I mean, I'm fully behind it getting a Criterion release. I will buy the Criterion probably at the next sale. That way I will also own, now that I know it's a 2-for-1, how can I say no? You get Last Picture Show and you get Texasville.
What were we talking about recently that was, why were we talking about directorial debuts? I'm trying to remember. Oh, we were talking about it with Hereditary because Ari Aster, that was his first movie.
Yes. Is this Bogdanovich's Hereditary?
Oh, I thought you were going to ask if it was better. Yes, it's better than Hereditary. I'm just looking at other ones now. Barry Levinson for Diner, Bottle Rocket for Wes Anderson. You know, some of these things we already discussed. Rob Reiner for This Is Spinal Tap. Because the main reason I was thinking about it because they have Neil Blomkamp on here, and man, that guy peaked on the phone with District 9.
Well, so long, Miss Mosey.
Sorry you're closing the show.
Nobody wants to come to shows no more. Kid baseball in the summer, television all the time.
Anyway, a great film, tremendous entry into Contrarians canon that will most certainly be referenced in the years to come. So it comes down to now the scores. The intangible that makes up a 5-star movie was not there for me. When I log this, I will be logging it as a 4.5-star movie on my letterbox. Which is not, that's an A, brother. That's an exceptional piece of business. I think this movie is excellent. And definitely, even if like the last half hour, there's a lot that happens, or even, last 40 minutes rather, there's a mudslide of activity. This is still very much a vibe movie that could become like one of my comfort movies that I just throw on when it's raining and I'm just like laying in bed scrolling aimlessly on my phone. I could definitely see throwing this on in the background, entering the hallowed halls of the Empire Records, the Inside Llewyn Davises of the world.
But maybe you stop it before Billy gets hit by a truck, so it doesn't kill the buzz.
I guess. I honestly, I'd probably be asleep by that point if I had this on in the background. But no discredit to the movie, but my vibe movies usually come along with a good nap. So great film. I'm happy to check it off the list, and I'm happy we did it for the podcast. So an A for me. Julio, where are you citing, or where are you planting your flag in Anarene, Texas?
As far away from it as I can. I feel bad giving it 4 stars, but it's possible it might go up to 4.5 if I keep watching it and just learn to love its characters a little more. Maybe we barely referenced it in Contrarians Corner, and we just completely forgot to bring it up in Real Talk. But I want to bring it up here. The kind of out of nowhere subplot about the preacher's son, who in a very casual manner is revealed to be a pedophile. It's weird. That is not, I can't rationalize, like, other than it's another instance of, well, the movie is painting this town as a really ugly place, and that is just, it almost feels like overdoing it, I think, partly because you don't need it.
5 minutes to the movie that's like a massive distraction of and now that I'm thinking about it, that's the type of thing that could derail my brain temporarily enough when I'm like invested in a movie to make me disconnect enough to where when I do get back on track, the landing or the ending is happening. It's like, this isn't really landing for me. So I am in full agreement with you. That's, whether I know it outright or not, that could be the reason that I'm holding off on, giving this the full Monty, because you're right. It's out of nowhere and there's no real resolution to it. And it's just kind of like, okay.
Yep. It takes over the movie for a few minutes, and then it's literally resolved. Or like the last thing we hear about it is Sonny telling Dwayne, he didn't do anything to her. He just got her to take her panties off. I was like, okay, can you elaborate? What the fuck?
That's not
or
nothing.
Just don't bring it up. Yeah, I mean, it's what it does is it paints a very callous side of Sonny, right? Like, this kid obviously should know better than to just shrug it off, but you're just like, oh no, he's that ignorant, and he's that ignorant because he grew up in this town, which is that ignorant. I think that we already had established that without having to add this. All I can think of, Alex, is that it's part of the book. It's a novel, and they decided to include it, and maybe in the book it makes a lot more sense. Maybe
I was about
he's
to
a
say
bigger character.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But anyway, 4 stars for me with the potential to go up. I really liked it. It was exciting to watch, a well-made movie that I had on my blind spot lists, and I'm excited for the future, like the immediate future, like when we do the after hours with Targets and the Prehistoric Women movie, and further down the line with on the summer when we tackle some other notable Bogdana films. But that's not what we are going to next, Alex. PJ Hogan. I know you know Bogdanovich from The Sopranos and from Paper Moon, I guess. PJ Hogan, I don't think that you're familiar with, right? Because he only has 6 movies.
Yeah, I don't think so. He made My Best Friend's Wedding, right? And that's what we're going to be doing on this?
Yes, but not right away.
Yeah. Okay, I have his filmography pulled up here. Confessions of a Shopaholic. I remember that. But My Best Friend's Wedding is famously a blind spot for me, and especially from our age range. That movie came in the mail with samples of Tide, so I'm surprised I've never seen it.
Well, we will get there, but before that, we have to watch his first movie. His own Last Picture Show was Muriel's Wedding, which wasn't just a breakthrough for him, but it was also a breakthrough for Contrarians' favorite Toni Collette. We just saw her in the infamous Hereditary. Now she's coming back.
Hey, we love Toni Collette here. The Hereditary was not her fault.
Yep. So young Toni Collette coming up next on our first PJ Party movie. It's also fresh. It's also it has a reputation, Alex. So I look forward to giving it the Contrarians treatment.
Do I need to wear pajamas?
Yeah, onesie. Maybe at least your sleeping shorts. I'll leave it up to you.
My long johns.
Yes.
All right. Well, that was the Last Picture Show. We're packing up and leaving Anarene, Texas, thank God, and we are moving on for good. Muriel's Wedding is where we're headed. I do love a wedding. So, Julio, that's on deck next. I think we've given all we can to the Last Picture Show, so I think it's time to get out of here.
Let's go.
Welcome to our end credits.
Or as we usually call them, our perennial plugs.
We start off by giving thanks to the Festive Years who provide our opening and closing tracks. They kick us off with Last Stand and take us home with Summer of 99. Be sure to head over to thefestiveyears.com for any and all Festive Years needs.
Our friend and fellow podcaster Hans Rothgieser is the man behind our logo and all the art you see related to our show. Reach out to him and let him know how much you like that little tomato. His email address is mildemonios@hotmail.com and his website is mildemonios.pe. That's MILDEMONIOS. You can also check out his podcast Nación Combi about Peruvian current affairs and Marginal about economy. Hans, thank you for all your support.
For those interested in the regularly absurd world of professional wrestling, Joe and the boys over at latenightgrin.com have you covered. Tell them the Contrarians sent you.
And we like to close with special thanks to our social media team of Zoe Perez and Corey Ari. Each of the social media accounts we mentioned in the introduction look as good as they do because of their work.
So that'll do it for this episode of The Contrarians, where we're right and you're wrong, and we will catch you next time.
How much money